Welcome back to the Ballistic Lab. Today we are analyzing the current state of the American hunting rifle market, and frankly, we are witnessing a massive divide. On one side, we have the cutting-edge high-coefficient cartridges that are absolutely crushing the market in 2025. These are the rounds dominating conversations from the dense tree lines of the East Coast to the high-altitude basins out west. The demand for these platforms is completely out of control, stripping gun store shelves bare faster than inventory can arrive. But on the other side of the aisle, we have the legends, the heavy hitters that used to be the kings of the woods. We are talking about calibers that have put down more game than most of us will see in a lifetime, yet the modern industry is treating them like museum pieces. It is a strange evolution to watch. We are living in a golden age of ballistics where advanced propellants and projectile designs allow smaller calibers to hit just as hard as the old giants. Today, we are bridging that gap. We have curated a list of 5 specific cartridges. We are going to look at the modern titans that claim the throne of efficiency, and we are going to contrast them with the forgotten heavyweights that deliver raw, bone-crushing stopping power. Whether you are looking for surgical precision or a ballistic freight train, you need to know what these rounds bring to the table. Let's send it. We start with the undisputed heavyweight champion of long-range energy, the 300 Winchester Magnum. Since Winchester dropped this beast back in 1963, it has been the standard bearer for hunters who need to reach across a canyon and put a definitive end to a hunt. This is not a cartridge for the faint of heart. It is designed to deliver pure authority. The 300 Win Mag pushes a 308 diameter projectile, typically weighing between 150 and 220 grains. When you take a lighter 150 grain load, you are screaming out of the barrel at 3,300 feet per second. That velocity generates a massive 3,600 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. To put that in perspective, that is enough kinetic shock to anchor the heaviest game walking the North American continent, from elk to moose to bear. The trajectory is incredibly flat, making a 400-yard shot well within the wheelhouse of a competent rifleman. You will find this round chambered in legendary platforms like the Remington 700 Action and the Winchester Model 70. The genius of the 300 Win Mag is that it is a true one-rifle battery. However, you have to pay the tax. The recoil impulse on this thing is stout. It is a sharp, aggressive shove that will flinch-check a new shooter immediately. Furthermore, feeding this beast is not cheap. Premium hunting loads are going to run you north of $50 a box. But if you need superior long-range ballistics and bone-crushing energy transfer, this is the king. From the modern Magnum, we move to a beast of a different color, the 35 Wheelin. This is a cartridge that represents the old-school philosophy of mass over velocity. Introduced in 1922 but not standardized until 1988, this thing is a ballistic freight train. There is a common misconception that Colonel Townsend Welland designed it, but it was actually James V. Howe, a brilliant gunsmith who built it and named it after the colonel out of respect. The concept is pure American ingenuity. Take a standard 30-06 Springfield case, expand the neck to accept a 358 diameter bullet, and you are done. But do not mistake simple for weak. This is arguably the most powerful non-Magnum cartridge you can buy over the counter today. When you load this up with modern ammunition like Hornady Superformance, you are pushing a 200-grain slug at 2,900 feet per second. That generates a massive 3,760 foot-pounds of energy. That is enough power to drop anything, including a Kodiak brown bear. In the hands of a capable marksman, it is an absolute hammer. While it maintains a cult following that borders on religious, the general public never really caught on. It is currently on life support, kept alive by specific state laws allowing single-shot rifles for primitive seasons. But let's be real. Give it another generation, and the Wheelin will likely be a conversation piece rather than a field rifle. Sitting at number 3 is the Warhorse, the 30-06 Springfield. Serving American infantry and hunters since 1906, there is no other cartridge in our history with a more battle-hardened resume. It utilizes the same .308-inch diameter bullet as the 300 Win Mag, typically loading anything from 150 to 180 grains. It is the absolute definition of a do-all cartridge. From white-tailed deer in the cornfields of the Midwest to elk in the dark timber of the Rockies, the 30-06 has done it all for over a century. Hunters stick with it because it sits in the perfect sweet spot. It brings enough horsepower to drop big game ethically, but it does not beat you up like a Magnum does. You can walk into any hardware store in rural America and find a box of 30-06 for $20 or $30. The trade-off? It has a rainbow trajectory compared to the modern Magnums. If you are shooting at distance, you need to know your dope. And the recoil, while manageable, is going to wake you up after a long session on the bench. But the upside is undeniable. It adapts to nearly every biological target in North America, and the performance is legendary. Let's step back into the deep woods with the old woodsman, the .35 Remington. Born way back in 1906, this round cut its teeth in the thick timber of the Northeast. If you were tracking whitetail in Maine or the Adirondacks, this was the hammer you carried. It offered a serious step up in lethality compared to the .30 Winchester. Now, most folks associate this round with a lever gun, but history tells a different story. It was actually built for a semi-auto, the Remington Model 8, which is why the brass is rimless. However, the .35 Remington truly became an American icon when Marlin chambered their legendary .336 lever action for it. That rifle cemented its legacy in deer camps across the country. Ballistically, it is a thumper. Standard factory loads push a 200-grain projectile at about 2080 feet per second, giving you roughly 1,776 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. If you want to turn up the heat, you grab some buffalo bore heavy hitters, which push a 220-grain hardcast bullet at 2,200 feet per second. Now you are looking at 2,364 foot-pounds of energy. For a cartridge over a century old, that is serious medicine. But sadly, its days as a primary hunting round are effectively over as modern shooters view it as obsolete and hard to source. Finally, claiming the top spot for functionality in 2025 is the master of efficiency, the .308 Winchester. Originally released in 1952 as the civilian counterpart to the military's .762 NATO, this round has become the most ubiquitous hunting cartridge in the nation. It runs the same .308 projectile as the 30-06 and the 300 Win Mag, but it packages it into a short-action case. A standard 150-grain load leaves the pipe at 2,800 feet per second, hitting with 2,600 foot-pounds of energy. It is absolute poison for whitetail, hogs, black bear, and elk at practical hunting distances. Because it runs in a short action, rifles chambered in .308 are stiffer, lighter, and faster to cycle. That makes a huge difference when you are hiking miles into the backcountry. The .308 takes the final spot because it balances everything perfectly. Its inherent accuracy is superb, the recoil is mild enough for all-day shooting, and the ammo is everywhere and affordable. Does it have limits? Sure. Once you push past 300 yards, it drops faster than the Magnums, and for the truly massive stuff like brown bear, you are arguably undergunned. But for 99% of North American hunting, the .308 Winchester is the gold standard of logistics and performance. So, there you have it. We have covered the full spectrum of ballistic philosophy, from the raw kinetic energy of the 300 Win Mag to the practical efficiency of the .308 and the fading glory of the .35 caliber legends. You have a choice to make. Do you embrace the modern era of high-tech propellants and aerodynamic efficiency, or do you keep the spirit of the old woodsman alive by fielding a .35 Whelen or Remington? Choosing your tool comes down to your mission, your terrain, and what you are comfortable shooting. But one thing is certain, whether it is a forgotten legend or a modern bestseller, shot placement is still the only thing that truly matters. I want to hear from you guys. What is your primary hunting cartridge this season? Are you sticking with a classic, or have you moved on to the new school? Drop your pick in the comment section below. If you got some value out of this breakdown, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you do not miss our upcoming gear reviews and ballistics tests. Stay safe, watch your six, and we will see you downrange.